This is Dust War Journals episode 42, your number one answer to the big question of life, the universe, and everything Dust 1947.
Yes.
My name is Johannes, and with me today are...
Magnus, as usual.
And, of course...
Yeah, Lada's here as well. I really thought you were going off it there, but then I realized where you were going. So
of course.
Great one. Saved by the day.
Yeah, of course. You have to, every time you have the chance to do that reference, I just have to. That's
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you know where your towel is?
Yeah, I know it. I know it.
Do you know?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Do I know where my towel is? Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, exactly. But that's not the main topic to talk about. We're here to talk about Dust, and as at least our viewers on YouTube can tell, we have quite a lot of interesting stuff to talk about today. Yeah. Not only the recent releases, but also some upcoming releases that we are going to discuss in depth, actually. But first off, we usually start with our hobby time since our latest episode. So, Ludde, do you want to start this time?
Okay, yeah, why not? And then you two can just doze off then. No, it's not that good, but it has been some gaming at least, and there's been some modeling. I'm doing some trees. I don't think I talked about that last time. That I've started to add to my little Nordic game board, and I don't mean Nordic as the tournament now. It's as the Nordic wood realm tree.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and it's that's one of those boards that's going to take like 15 years perhaps to complete. So it's like I started.
So you're growing trees. That's what you're saying.
almost like. But unfortunately, also I was doing this in. A little doodling with a little bit of a stream, and that I think. Oh
yeah, you showed us that last time we were over. Yeah, that was.
But unfortunately, that border that I used, even though I think it was Woodland Scenic, it must have been gone old or something because I've had so much trouble these 2 weeks now to get it to dry out, and it breaks up. It gets small air holes, and it seems okay when I filled it, but it comes afterwards, days afterwards, it starts doing air holes in it, and it shifts in color still. So it usually settles by 1 or 2 days, and then you have the color that you want. But mine is. So it seems like it's perhaps gone bad or something in the shifting. But it's fun. It's been good. I also had kind of a humiliating visit from big old Mats there. I came by. It wasn't that humiliating what he showed me, that he's playing with himself. He showed his,
So Mats doesn't have anything to embarrass himself in that regard?
No.
He shouldn't be ashamed of what he plays with?
No.
That's what you're saying?
What he does with himself at his home, it's quite beautiful to see, actually. And I think a lot of people might have the pleasure to see the thing he can produce later on in this year. Yeah, and it's modular also. That makes it even more interesting to me to have it in several pieces and be able to put it together in.
So multiple people can.
I don't know what you're thinking about, but I'm talking about this big water thing that he puts in water. Okay, but I don't think he wants me to tell what he showed me because I think he wants to keep it secret until he can show everyone. So, okay, you're going off it. I'm just trying innocently talking about that. I had a visit from Mats. He showed me a lot of stuff, and it was very fun. But we unfortunately played some games of Memoir 44.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well. First time for me to play the game. I love the game. I played other iterations or whatever the word
variations of it.
I mean, but the strange thing was that even though we played 3 games, I only won once, and that is to me, that made me.
So it's not a good game then?
Apparently there must be some wrong with the mechanics or something, because I didn't sleep for 2 days after, or 2 nights actually. I was really out of it. I had to cancel, we had to cancel the podcast just because of this actually. So it's very, very, it was hard on me in so many aspects. But okay, he it was fun that he came at least.
Yeah.
So
it's always positive when someone comes.
Definitely. That's always something good. Spreading good vibes or whatever you were talking about.
Yeah, maybe we should leave that subject.
Yeah. We can go over to the consolation activity that I had 2 days later, because then Kalle came by and he comforted me in the best of ways with his allied dogs. I got really bitten by the way he played, but it was fun. I was actually playing Steel Guards in that game, and it was it's always nice playing Steel Guards. Steel Guards is always the right fraction to play when you're in doubt. Always bring out the Steel Guard, and it was wonderful. It was a good game, and so I've been doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I think it was it wasn't after last episode. Also, we were in Magnus' place doing some stuff, but I'm thinking you can talk about that. So, since in my voice, even though it's soothing and wonderful to listen to, perhaps we should break it up with a little bit of your melodies as well.
Yeah, you guys came over to my place and we played a little bit of board games, and also sort of almost for the first time. I had used my new home cinema system just a little bit before, but you guys were very early in that respect to see what it's like, and it turned out pretty nicely. And of course I have to say thank you to Ludde, because I had a lot of help from you.
You have some experience
making it happen.
There, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm just so pleased to finally come to your place. I mean, your place is a beautiful place. You've done a lot of things in it by yourself. I mean, the walls you build and stuff like that. Even though it was it's a sky. Forget it. I was searching for a word I didn't find. But there's been one fault in your apartment, so to speak, and it's been the living room. It's been hurting me for a long time, walking past the living room, not wanting to stay there. But now I feel...
Finally, it's complete.
Now it's complete.
So now I'm the one who kind of feels out here, because I'm still the only one of us now that only has a TV to watch movies on. So,
but we have started a work in progress on that one as well, and we're gonna mend even your life, but you have so much other stuff that distracts at the moment. So
yes, that is true. Too many hobbies, too little time. That's basically been my big problem for the last few weeks, that there's been other hobbies that have taken up time apart from work. That's also been a big time sink since I have traveled a bunch and stuff, but we can get to that in just a bit. Anything else happen hobby-wise for you, Magnus?
Actually, I was a bit surprised, because it turns out that there's a guy in about our age living in my house, just a couple of floors below me. And it turns out that this guy is a big board gamer and miniatures gamer.
Ooh.
So I played an intro game with him with Dust.
Oh, really
Showed
cool.
him the game, and yeah, he liked it. So I don't know if he's gonna actually start playing the game more actively or not, but yeah, I will continue to pitch it to him. So hopefully he will commit a little bit more.
Yeah,
so it was a nice surprise.
Yeah,
and since you live in a quite tall building, and I see the possibilities now, like a Judge Dredd kind of corporation, so you can be like the gang in there and start taking floors over. So when you're like, you can have sub floors for different games. Perhaps you just have to.
Instead of drugs, we're dealing plastic.
Exactly.
And if Agda 84 on level 5 don't want to play, well, too bad for her. She's playing now. It's like
right. Yeah, that's a good plan.
Yeah, definitely. That's good. Spreading the gospel, basically.
You can have your son in a few years going through surveying and knocking on doors. Are you playing? It's like, sorry.
Oh yeah, that's not. For me, it haven't really been that much time for Dust, as I said. But I have some kind of other hobby plans. I'm reworking my hobby room a bit, so it's a little bit of a work in progress. And I also got myself a new hobby toy that I got just a few days ago. So I haven't really had that much time to play around with it. But what I got was a paint mixer. So for those of you who are watching now on YouTube, you can see it there. It's quite heavy, and it's a good thing, because what this does is that you put a bottle of paint on the top of it, and it rotates very, very rapidly. So you, instead of just shaking the bottles, you get a very nice kind of blending mixing action. So I actually have some, especially these. I have these old game color from Vallejo. These are pretty old. And for those of you who have tried them, you know that they separate just like crazy. You can see it really clearly on this one.
And it was a good
you can
camera
see that as well. Yeah. Exactly.
It's pre-made for the.
Yeah, it's almost like that chess paint that they have in that Disney cartoon.
I was even thinking about the Mythos vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like that. You get that kind of dark line in the middle of the two colors there as well. But if you take these and just put them for a few seconds on this mixer, so I apologize in advance for audio listeners in this. Sounds just completely horrible.
That doesn't.
And then you might have to do it for these who are really separated. You have to do it for a bit. But this just beats shaking the bottles. Because now you say, it still needs some work, but it definitely has started to blend. And I know from experience that I haven't I have prepared another one here. If you just shake them, it basically does nothing at all. So it's a big improvement just to save those old paints, because that's one of the problems for me, who is a slow painter, and I take a lot of time to start up my projects and get my projects done. It's a good way to save paint, basically, so not have to throw stuff away when they start to separate or dry out.
There is, I have to mention, since I don't know how much this cost or even where you get it, I have chosen a different solution for the exact same problem. They do sell small kits, or like blister packs with either metal balls or glass, like small, and you put them in. So when you shake it, you have some kind of heavy object. This little
moves
ball
around inside.
I've tried that as well, and that works well for those paints that haven't separated as much yet. So that's it's a good way to prevent that. But if you have a lot of these paints that already are heavily separated, you still have to shake for a long time, even with those agitator balls. That's what I found, at least. So it's definitely an extravagance. It's not something that everybody needs, but it's good to have it when you need it, definitely.
Right.
So it saves time. It saves you from having a whole lot of shaking going on. So
cool.
For mine always dries out before they split in different colors. But it's
different from just different lines, different. Of course, these are the absolute worst when it comes to that. Those old game colors from Vallejo, most of them don't separate nearly as much as these do.
But they do have very good caps, so it's very rare for these to actually dry out.
That is
so you can
that's a good point.
Usually save them one way or the other.
Yeah.
So
that's why they have the time to separate themselves.
Exactly.
Because well, if it isn't one thing, it is the other. So
yeah, as the woman said who bled from her nose. Yeah.
You are on fire today, my friend.
We should probably get into the new releases.
Better you than the cat, I would say. I just like to say that. I don't know if it probably won't be heard on the radio, but if you hear that strange rasping sounds now and again, it is his cat.
Yeah, she's walking around here, just checking out what we do. She has one of those big collars on because she has a kind of a place that she's not supposed to scratch. So if you hear some bumps in the night, that might be her. So let's go to talk about some new releases for the game then. There's been a lot of exciting stuff since we spoke last. We have the USMC HQ in a Babylon premium pattern. So for those who collect them, that's a good thing to get. The Justine and Company version 6 was also released. We talked about this a few episodes ago when we showed off the big kind of preview, but we did neglect to mention one important detail about these girls, because we kind of just took for granted that they have the same stats as all of the other versions of the mercenaries. we have this just in a company. Like I said, this is version 6, so there are 5 others. The previous 5 versions have all had the same stats, but these girls don't. And the big difference is that these girls are 8 points instead of 4, and they also have the ammo dump rule, because you can see that on the pictures that they actually sit on ammo crates. Yeah. So you have a mobile ammo dump suddenly for 4 extra points. And that is very, very interesting. There is a lot of weird stuff you can do with this ability, I feel. Yeah. So 8 points to have just limitless ammo dump that you can move around, and also you also repair your vehicles. This is really, really powerful and cool, I feel.
Yeah, and you're getting really nice, interesting combos now. My mind is really spinning with just those small add-ons from the mercs, since they are so cheap, all these mechanical options, some heroes, and for different armies also different combinations where you can put people together with. And I mean, since you said this is a free action.
Yeah, it's a free action to do it.
What happens if you put Tina and the hyena and these girls? I mean, they can put up a fight against a lot of things in close combat. She has her normal, command reactivation stuffs, and they have their repair things. Okay, they need a medic in there, but that's almost a super HQ. I mean, 5 models, they don't do medic, but they do everything else. They execute, they repair, they ammo dump, they reactivate. Okay, they don't have a radio, but I mean, stuff you really now can start to tweak around with. It's and also it's really getting to that point. You can't have all these stats in your head. So nowadays you can't control, and I love that, what you're going to face. Sorry.
Exactly. The game is getting more and more diverse in that respect, and with all these kind of support units, you can really, spin some things around. Suddenly, you will see something that you did not expect or that you haven't seen before in any way. So.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I'm cool. super excited about it.
Really, really cool. We also had the Heroes of Asocom box get released. So you get the old Rangers heroes, which is really, really nice for people who started playing later than we did and had a hard time finding these heroes. A lot of them were only available in some of the older Operation expansion boxes, for instance. So it's a really a good thing. We also had another interesting re-release. The Zombie Grenadiers are now available to be purchased again, which also is a really good thing for people who play Blutkreuz. We also had the Migo Assault Squad released separately from the starter box, so if you want to get that army just for the Migos. And we're going to talk a little bit more about these Migos later on, because I felt like up until now they haven't really been worth their points, because they are quite fragile. They are quite quick, and they are decent at dealing out damage, but they die very, very fast. And we are getting something that might help in that respect, but we're going to talk about that in a bit.
And they do remind you very much about the Allied 3 Rangers.
Very much so, yes.
But that's also good, I think, in one aspect, because that makes the Allied Rangers not being... Well, since they're not the only ones who die so quick, so to speak, it's like it's the Type 3 conundrum now more.
Yes.
So I think it's good. Yeah.
We also had 2 conversion kits get released, the Super Pershing 2 conversion kit and the M4A3E8 or the EC8 conversion kit. These are basically just the phaser guns and mounting for them, and of course the dust-sized machine gun. And of course you also get the stat card. One thing about this that has been kind of discussed a bit is the cost of these kits, because they are not cheap for the amount of things you get in them, which I can in a way understand, because there's not that many players I feel who probably want to buy this kit, so they have to set the price a bit higher just to get the production margins basically that they need for it. So it's much better that they are available at a higher price than not available at all. I think that would be the kind of other option, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't checked now what the price on these are, but I would say if you compare to like a regular hero, I mean now the heroes comes in boxes with multiple models, like headquarter plus some heroes.
Yeah.
But up until fairly recently, you could buy a lot of the heroes just like a single hero, and usually they would cost something like $15 for one model. Okay, so if we have that price and then choose to release something that is going to sell a lot less, so you make it a special thing like these conversion kits, you know that you're not going to sell, then you obviously have to put a price that is a lot higher. I would say probably about twice to get the money back, which means they should probably cost something like $30.
Which is exactly what they've set the price at. So,
right.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately,
yeah, sure, it's a bunch of money, but that's just how it works. The option is to not release them at all, basically. So,
well, I probably it's a little bit too much of a technical thing because they need to have some sort of protection for it, which perhaps is too expensive or impossible. But I'm thinking, I've heard about people who've been doodling with 3D printing their own turrets and stuff like that. So could they perhaps find a way that one could buy those renders, or what is
those files?
Yeah. So you can, I mean, like, okay, I don't want to pay 30, but I'll pay 8 or something, and I can print 2 or something, and then at least, because then it won't, no material cost. Okay, the material cost might be the low cost for Dust Studio, but I'm thinking, could there be a middle way for these things, those conversion things, that perhaps one could set up some sort of
I don't think that they will ever do that just for the standard players. What they might do is do some kind of licensing deal with some other company. And this was an idea that I know that we talked with the studio about a few years ago, that they are going to do a kind of limited print on demand service, and that's specifically for this kind of stuff. So you order it and then they print it up with a 3D printer for you and sends it out. So it will still be more expensive, of course, than if you would 3D print it yourself, but it would likely be a lot cheaper than these kits are. So we'll see what happens. That was an idea that was kicked around like a year or so back.
Yeah, since we have a few guys in the country that we know of that have quite decent 3D printers, it would be, I'm just thinking one should be able to find a way to please everyone, because of course it's still, if you only want this turret now then, and you just don't have the possibility to buy extra to get that free shipping or something like that, then it gets extra expensive when you have to ship it from China to Sweden, and it takes a while. I'm just thinking,
yeah, sure. There are problems either way. The obvious problem I could see for the studio with sending out files to persons would be that each person could then print any number and sell like on a sort of black market.
I know. It risks the contamination, so to speak.
So I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think they will do that, and I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that it's maybe not a good idea to do it, even if they could.
Perhaps. I'm just... I can understand why people think it's a little bit too much for them to invest in this particular tank or making that particular... But if... And I would love to see that we can alter some of the... Because I can see people otherwise going, okay, I make it my own because I have a 3D printer. Or, my friend, can you do me one as well? Because I just don't want to pay. So perhaps one can find a converging point where everyone can be a winner in the end, so to speak. But, I think we've been on that. Or at least I've been on that topic a few times before, so I'm sorry if I'm rambling.
There's no simple answers, basically. Next up is something that's really exciting for a lot of people, I think. It's the Tito and Crew Collector's Edition kit. This is available as a premium resin model kit, or a premium resin kit, or a resin model kit. And unfortunately, both of these at this particular moment is out of stock. These sold out very, very quickly, I feel. So, but I'm not surprised at all, because this is a really, really cool set.
Yeah, and I can see people converting this one to Tito's crew.
Yeah, the crews are not that unique in a way. I think it's also the same. I'm not sure it's exactly the same as are in the Rosie and crew kit, but it's very similar.
Yeah,
but then you get, of course, Tito himself. But you can also kind of convert that up. I think if you have the skills for it. But we've talked about this guy before. Yes, this is a really incredible combination of skills, and that really, and I feel that's what the mercenaries are kind of heading towards now, a support role for existing armies that have these very specialized and unique mechanics. And we are probably going to see a lot more mercenaries in every army just in the future. Hopefully it's not going to be too far away in the future when we see stuff like the Tito kit and the Rosie kit get available in regular plastic as well, so they can be much more available to people to buy.
I shouldn't say anything more. I was just admiring the Tito's crew. So my mind was.
Of course. And there's also been another mercenary-related release. We have the Decimator and the Shredder Walkers, and these we've talked about them as well before. These are the allied M4 walkers, but with the Axis Sturmprinz and Prince Luther turrets.
Yep, they are fun to play with. They are an interesting addition.
Yeah. I definitely like especially the Decimator one. Just that particular turret is a very good combination of firepower, I feel. It can take on most things in a very efficient way. We also have the PLHQ. This is the one that's going to... We kind of predicted that this is going to just get the PLA on the map, really. And especially, of course, you got the heroes. You got the Commissar Poon, you got the Steel Guard guy, the Master Yuk, yes, of course. And the big one, I feel, is Professor Zoom, something Wong. He's just going to make life miserable for anyone facing him unless you have some way to take him out early. But yeah, he definitely affects how you play against him.
Very interesting characters with two potentially very strong abilities.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, what happens if he meets like a themed Blutkreuz zombie army?
Mm-hmm.
They won't care at all.
Yeah.
So
it is kind of situational. Most people do use HQs, but I also think that this is going to be kind of a like most of these what we kind of regard as overpowered units, that when they get released there's a big stinking mess about it and everyone is upset, and then people adjust and people learn how to cope with it. And for instance, for this guy in particular, if you can't use your command units or you can't reliably use them for reactivations, then use them for something else. Have them rush up the field and engage the enemy instead, because that's probably a better use for them in that specific case. So yeah, we just have to see how people do it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, a regular HQ unit, they can do a lot of different things. Professor Zoom, he affects two of those things, basically. The reactivation and the medic. But the command unit can still use its mechanic skills, it can still use rally, it can still use ammo drop. It can do a lot of other things, and usually, I mean, most headquarter units, they also have decent firepower.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well,
there are still a lot of options.
And in my case, I would definitely put Poon together with the HQ before anything else. That's my go-to combination. Giving very, very hard killed HQ for only 13 points, and they also then have the possibility to deal with almost everything, and never suppressed because they have the because he has the. No, not the fighting spirit. I mean, he can always get 3 actions. I mean, well, I just think that can be a surprisingly annoying little combination. Flies under the radar, but just that add-on would really be an interesting and good fix, I think. But of course, you want a Poon. I mean, some Professor Sum in it somewhere, and then of course, what would you put him with? Just in the regular squad? Well, yeah.
One interesting thing about this, I think we talked about it before also, is the Steel Guard guy. Because, he is a Steel Guard, but he is also a PLA faction. So if you combine him with any other Steel Guard unit, then you don't get the faction bonus anymore. So that's an interesting thing. Do you want to run him just solo as his own unit? Or do you want to kind of risk that extra points in order to put him together with something else? I mean...
But do run that by me again, please. What do you mean?
Steel Guards or Guard faction?
Yeah, of course. Yes, sorry. Yeah, of course. Yes. Oh, sorry.
So if you mix, he will basically cost you 10 extra points in a 100-point list.
Yeah.
But then again... I mean, the Master Fighter skill is a nasty skill, and you can put it in combination with any of the other units basically, and it's going to be a handful for the opponent.
Definitely.
So, but still, it's an interesting choice. What you want to do? Is it worth it or not?
And of course, the lower points some you use in your game, then the less that kind of point hit will be. So but then again, all of these Steel Guards are expensive units. So
I mean, this guy Master Yuki is 17 points. So for just one guy, and that's a lot. There's not too many heroes more expensive than him.
No. So it'll be interesting to see how people use him, and if it seems like if he's worth 17 points to bring on his own, or if he's worth 27 or even more in order to bring him with some extra guys and boost them as well. It's going to be interesting to see what people can do with that. We also have the industrial ventilation shaft that's also released now. A really very, very nice piece of scenery. We showed that off when we had those boxes also. Really, really lovely. A lot of detail on this one.
And I've already seen a few people have been lighting it up inside and stuff like that. So I must commend all those guys who really gone at it, because it's one can look at that. I'm sorry if I dwell on this, but you can look at that and see, it's just a squared fort block and it's just a little window there or something. Why do you care? But then when you look at someone who have painted it in a good way, done that little extra special things with it.
I mean, even
this is just so. Sorry,
I'd say even the pictures they have on the official Dust site with the studio painting. I mean, there's a lot of personality to this little building.
Even the low standard of the studio painting, it still looks good.
No, it's not low standard, but it's. I don't know how to put it. It's a simplified. I mean, it's not that very many like extra details or stuff. But what they do, it really lifts the detail of the model in the paintwork.
I get
without adding some.
Well, I'm just so frigging happy that we're doing this podcast, because it's been a while, and it's been a little rough couple of months. I have to put I have to put the spoon in. You know,
be careful about that.
Because that hurts more. Yes, so I don't suffice with the fork or the knife. It's going to be a spoon. Sorry.
Right, and lastly from the studio, we have two very exciting re-releases. Some units that haven't been available for a long time are finally available again. These are the Ranger character set 1 and the Blutkreuz character set 1. These are the resin model kits with, for the Blutkreuz, it's Sigrid and the Ape heroes, and for the Rangers, it's the 5 different heroes that can all also be run as a single command squad. These are the ones that were released together with the novel back in the day.
Yeah.
And now they are finally available again just by themselves.
Yeah, and this really rubs me all the way, in all good way and almost bad way, because it's, I like to play around with the Allied 2s, and I have a few times tried to look at conversions for these guys because I have given up. I thought I will never see them, only when I finger them in Magnus' shelf in his hobby room. That's the only time I will get to play with them. And now they come out, and I just feel like perhaps I'm a hopeless optimistic or romantic or something, but I still feel that the Allied 2s are playable. And these, 5 heroes, perhaps you shouldn't use all the 5, perhaps it's 3 of them, but sticking different personalities in different squads with extra boosting of lives. I'm just feeling that this could be, in combination, of course, with stuff others we've talked about, the mercenaries, the Rosie crew and new Rosie model, and I just feel like people are lazy that they don't play Allied 2s or something like that. Oh yeah, I know with this, the old rubbery sculpts, of course, they would do good to reprint them in resin, because then they will look they will look amazing. But it's the fire that could keep the flame of the Allied 2s burning again. And just when I went rogue and started, and that's also the other part there, the Bloidkreuz, I have started finally converting my own ape heroes, and then they released them again in resin. And why? Oh, couldn't I just have built everyone? Now I perhaps have to buy these as well, and it's just
because we have seen how people use especially these ape heroes, because those armies are definitely nothing to be trifled with.
No.
They definitely just bump that army up that extra level and makes them real annoying to play against.
Yeah, and just like the Allied ones, I'm sorry, Magnus, still you want to come in there, but I'm still interrupting you, even though I'm going to shut up in a few seconds here. You know this better because you got those models, but I feel like just with the Allied ones, it's not about playing every character to get a successful army, because then you go over the top and you're overbalancing the others. So you should have 1 or 2 or maybe maximum 3, depending on what type of army on the whole you're building, where is the perfect balance. So, and it's just so fun that they are a little bit different. So by switching heroes, it gets another dimension of your. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I've played the mechanic guy Gilmore a lot. He's been a staple in my Rangers army, and I think he does a very good job. It's super nice to have cheap mechanic like that who can just run around and do whatever he wants. I also feel that the medic, I can't remember her name right now, but the medic model is also a very good hero. It can also be used to good effect. The others, I feel, really depends on what type of army you want to play. The machine gun guy, he can obviously boost
Bolzano. At least that's one from the one I read.
He can
the
obviously
chapters.
boost one of your infantry units with some extra firepower and his what's it called, stay down skill.
Oh yeah.
So he don't really have too much tricks. He's just some extra firepower, some extra boost to one of your units. But it's a nice touch.
Yeah.
The officer, it also depends on which way you want to roll. In my view, he's a fairly regular officer. Yeah. Nothing special with him, but an officer is always an officer.
And that's the kind of the point. When I tried to build some ranger armies in the past, I've really missed that guy, because I had some extra points that I wanted to fill out, and he would have been just perfect to slot in if I had him available to me. So
the last guy, Private, what's his name? He's the main character of the book. Private something.
Private what's his name?
Yeah, but seriously,
it's been a while since.
It's not Jack. It's
Jack.
Yeah, but because they do that. We do the surname more in the book. So
yeah, but anyway,
this is
Private Jack
embarrassing.
there.
Yeah.
That's the character. Unfortunately, since he's he's the main character of the book. So I had like higher hopes for him because I think he is kind of. I don't think he's really worth his points, and that's one thing. But more importantly, I feel that he's too boring. He's the main character. He should be, have some more coolness to him. I can't really say what I would want to change because he's a young guy in the story and don't have too much experience and get thrown in all these events.
Yeah.
So I get it. You can't make him like an over-the-top war veteran, but still, he should have, I don't know, something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he needed his own special skill, also a little bit situated about what happens to him.
Because
in the
as
book,
it is,
but,
he's got, I think if I remember correctly, he's 7 points. He's got like regular stats, nothing special. He's got pilot, so he can pilot walkers, and he's got lucky, once per game effect.
And both pilot and lucky is good skills, thinking what happens to him. But I do agree with you there that you since you can put him in a walker, but basically that doesn't do anything because you can perhaps use the lucky skill on that once, but it's still you need there's something there, and
I could see like a once per game some kind of walker effect. Once per game you can make charge with your walker, or you can do you know what I mean, like something special for him.
What they should do and I don't want to spoil this, but I'm just thinking about a little bit of the later things that happens in the book. If I go as far as that, I would like him to be able to pilot any type of vehicle, and giving him so he was like he can jump into any, because it seems like he has that natural talent to pilot things that you don't think he should be able to pilot. And I hope I'm not ruining the book for anyone, but I'm just saying that. And perhaps if Dust Studio would agree to scratch out the pilot walker, what's called it? Just calling it pilot anything. Then
that could be
maybe. Also there's a final thing we should talk about. There's been another release from another company that's very dust related and really, really cool. It's P-Work War Games out of Poland, who has released 6 different officially licensed dust gaming mats, and there are 6 different designs of these. We have the Sverograd, the Babylon, Antarctica, Golden Triangle, Overlord, which is that kind of beach landing, and Peenemünde, which is kind of a military base mat. And all of these also come in 2 different sizes. You get the 9x12 gridded versions, which is basically like 2 of the standard dust mats put together. But you also got a 12x12 version, which is really interesting. We haven't really. When we play gridded, we usually do some multiple of the standard mats because that's simplest, basically. But 12x12 is not something we really have tried. And I kind of want to now. That seems interesting.
Maybe, back in the days when using the old tiles that were 3x3 squares, so you built up the entire table made out of those.
So it's kind of a throwback to that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an interesting idea. I'm not. First of all, it won't fit my gaming table at home, so I will probably buy the smaller ones. But still, it's an interesting size.
Definitely. Yeah. And I hope that these sell well so that they can bring them to other parts of the world, because at the moment I think these are only available in Europe, which have annoyed a few people. So
2 things about those are that Magnus, you can still buy the big one and you just let the end of it tip over the side of the table.
I don't know. That's gonna.
I've done that. When we do.
It's gonna tear my soul a little bit. So.
you're a bigger man than that. Not physically, but spiritually. And
I don't know.
And also, I so much hope that these will be in contention in Warsaw as prizes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, hint that, please, Marek. Tell us at least one of these mats will be available as prizes for, I don't know what, but
Or even to buy.
yeah. Well, I sincerely believe, because I think he talked about that even before last year, actually, that this was in the works, or he knew that this might be coming out. This is my memory, at least.
Yeah.
So I'm,
or at least have some sort of deal that you could order them and have them delivered there, so you don't have to pay for shipping. That could be a really great thing.
yeah, and so you don't have to fly home with them, because that could be a problem or something like that, depending on how you travel. To
Yes, of
the
course.
source. So, well.
So everyone will just send their extra mats with you, who's probably going by bus. So
Yeah, I'll do the bus or the boat,
Yeah.
or and to be just a little bit dystopic, if we still are allowed into the rest of Europe, or we are allowed out from Sweden or something like that. You never know. It's a lot of months. A lot of can go down. So one step at a time.
So should we go talk about the upcoming stuff then?
Well,
I think we should.
Why not?
Because we have some really interesting things here. This is basically going to be the next big wave of releases that's coming out any day now. I think very very soon at least. We can start from we have them all here on the table. So let's start from the end. We got the upcoming hero for the Mythos, Nadir. This is the guy on the flying carpet, and this is what I referred to when I was talking about the hero for the Migo squad, because this guy has the exalted skill, which means that even though he isn't a Mythos creature, he can still join up as a unit leader for a Mythos creature unit.
The interesting part for me here is that, if I understand correctly, you get two different models. One walking on the ground, one flying on his mat, and there is two different cards.
Yeah, so we have slightly different skills also.
One of them is like a regular guy, and the guy flying is the exalted one.
Exactly, yes. So he can also be used as a unit leader for the normal cultists, so to speak.
Which is such a this is such a wonderful thing. First off, you know me, I totally adore this little flying bastard. I think it's one of the cutest little models they've done.
Yeah.
But also my stomach turns, because now it's the Aladdin and the magic flying part.
In a way.
So one part of me, and this is my problem always. Oh yeah, I see it. Don't bring it out, because I'll soil it. No, but seriously, you can do, of course. So it's such a good combo.
Yeah.
Also, I so love. First, when I heard about this, that he was going to be able to be put together with the lesser Mythos creatures, I was like, "Oh, come off it! This is just going off the rails." But then it hit me. That probably means we won't be needing to see a unit with flying carpets, because this is one step too far. It's just that it's so frigging beautiful. I accept it, and I know my daughter wants it, so she will want one of those flying around, because she's madly in love with flying carpets. But so fixing it, putting it with the Mythos creatures, no problem. And he can be almost like a herder, or like he's like he has leashes for the Mythos dogs. He's flying them, and so it's just totally works for me. And for those then, of course, that perhaps even feel stronger than I, that this is going a step too far, but you like the fesses and stuff like that, putting this one little bastard inside one of those Fesser squads. That's
I see some real interesting possibilities with the grounded version of this guy. If we look at the stat cards here, just quickly, the thing that these two versions have in common are, of course, his weapons, which are 2 revolvers and 1 endless demo charge.
Of course,
the
of
same
course.
as the other FES guys. His skills that are common between two versions are and stay down, which means that all units hit by ranged weapons fired by this unit automatically gains a suppression token. And this is why I would also might put him with the cultist ladies, because he can deal out suppression tokens all over the place suddenly, very easily. Defensive tactics makes him and his squad a lot more survivable.
Oh yeah, a little bit too almost.
Also, killing spree, but it does not apply to units joined, which kind of balances it out, which is a good thing. But so killing spree means that it's basically the laser rule.
Yeah.
So any ranged weapon that he
Exploding
uses
dice.
gets the extra rolls. So he does a little bit more damage with his revolvers, and it's 6 points for the grounded version.
Yeah. You just. It's really a crosshair now on him on the ladies or the fesses. I
Both options are really good.
definitely. You really have. I mean, the fesses ones you wanted to target anyhow, but those you could almost sidestep and toy a little bit with their limited range and stuff like that. But with this extra 4 lives and defensive tactics, you get the feeling that they will now reach their objective.
But then again, you have the flying version.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
put him with amigos, with defensive tactics. Suddenly, those guys will become a lot more survivable.
Definitely, and you get around that problem of them dying before they can do anything. They have that extra hit points that he can soak up. He has a demo charge, so when they charge, he can also do quite a lot of damage.
Definitely.
So the difference, this guy is 10 points, the flying version, and the only real differences other than the cost is his stats, which are now include exalted and flying for the skills, and of course his movement stats. For the grounded version is the normal 2-4, and he's a soldier 1. But the flying version is movement 3, march move 5, and he is a soldier 3, which is why he can go with the Migos.
Yeah, and it's totally typical and fair and stuff. Just
Definitely,
so.
and for 10 points, it's actually it does feel a little cheap, honestly. I don't know. We have to play around with it, I guess, to just see how fair it seems.
I mean, if you bring the flying version, don't you want to definitely put him with Migos?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't want to fly him around by himself.
No, I don't think so.
And the Migos are, at least up until now, maybe feel a little bit too expensive. So if this guy is a little bit cheaper, I think the combination of the two, it's just fine.
Yeah, you get that possibility, of course, of doing the dirty thing, the defensive tactics, and putting your Migos in terrain to give special saves, which the allied 3s don't get. That they don't have that special skill on their heroes, but their heroes aren't more expensive than 10 points, almost, so to speak. So I see, he has a lot of things, but it's also it's really relating to he gets into range 2 or range 0 to be that effective.
True.
And since, well, in our last game, Kalle made me pay for letting him get close to Rhino and the hammers.
Yeah.
But still, he got there. He did some damage, and it was really frustrating. But then I wiped his troop out, and I see myself doing the same with Amigo squad. So no, I feel tenor is okay. I might be proven wrong in the end here, but
it's
seriously
definitely a unit I'm going to be playing around with a lot, and it doesn't really say, but since he has the same, he doesn't actually have this exact same name. One is Nadir and one is Nadir the Exalted. So one question that I had to pose to the studio is, could I use both versions in the same army? I would say that just for fluff reasons, no, of course not. But I don't see anything in the rules that would actually prevent it. Yeah. So it does say, one thing that would hint towards it is if you look at the product code on the cards here, they actually have the same product code, CT110 for the grounded version and CT110A for the flying version.
Yeah.
So that would kind of indicate that they are in fact the same guy and you can only use one. But that is something that would need to be clarified, I think.
Yeah, there will be people who will try to play them both, and I would enjoy it in a friendly game. But if anyone would try to do it in a tournament game, and I was in a bad mood, I would headbutt the fuck. I mean, that's sorry, but I'm very glad that you bring it up because they need to put a one line on Facebook saying it's the same guy. Stop being silly. So I can help you there. So you want to keep on going to the next
let's go to the next box then.
You don't have to hear my rants on stupid people on Facebook.
Next up we have something that's been a long time coming because these were hinted at back in the last operation book. This is the Luftwaffe support weapons. This is a very interesting box because you actually get 4 different units in this box. You finally have access to the mortar squad and the observer squad. Together with the laser support weapon squad and the X7 missile support weapon squad. Yeah. Really nice box, this.
And the best part of it is that, to my knowledge, it's the only way to get the observers. And so, and we talked about, I'm still 100% sure that if you have a lot of money, you can almost break the game by only playing observer squads from the Luftwaffe. But if you're now going to do that, and you have to buy this bigger box, to me, it's like, well, go ahead then, if you're so desperate, if you have no life. But as I talked about with the normal regular Sturm Grenadier supporter weapon box, I feel this is so sweet to get everything in one. And if I were playing Luftwaffe, I would definitely throw myself on 2 of those boxes. Perhaps that would be too much, but I feel, that could be nice. That could be nice.
With 2 boxes, I mean, you could put together almost like any combination you want because it's very rare you would want 3 of the same type of weapon.
No.
So, and unless you go crazy with the observers, I think it's fairly rare you would want more than 2 observer squads as well. No. Maybe 3, maybe, but
but definitely. The most I've done was putting 2 BA cars and 1 observer squad for the Russians, and then I really felt like I was overdoing it. For observation reasons, you don't need more than 2, so to speak. But since they are special and can land anywhere, and they get that special. Well, we already talked about it, but for new listeners, you could probably do some really nasty things.
Yeah, that observer squad is interesting because it's different in a couple of ways compared to most others. So yeah, sure, but like I said, with 2 of those boxes, you have come a long way in that part of the battle.
Yeah, right. And we can also talk about the next one, which is really, really interesting. This is when Ludda saw that this had arrived, we just freaked out, basically.
I'm not sure if he stopped drooling yet, or if that is...
I'm locking my fingers, not trying to touch this box. This is by far... Are you going to cut in it?
We have to look at the unit.
Of course we have to. This is by far. I'm sorry. I'm an SSU player by heart, even though I'm playing very much Allies on some Lloyd as well, and stuff like that. But this is by far the best army box they have ever released. You can't compare anything. If you're ever going to buy one army box in your life, this is the box you're going to buy. Otherwise,
there's
some...
No, it doesn't matter. This is the one.
You play Japanese, Chinese, you play Lloyd, whatever. This is the box you buy. This is, the content in this box, even though it has that sordid, shameful anti-infantry squad in it, it's like you don't get, it doesn't get any better than this.
So what is it for our audio listeners out there?
Okay. This is the Steel Guard Army box. This was, to me, unknown. I had missed this on the radar. I'm ashamed as hell. Just when you posted that this was in the box you were getting from the studio, I freaked out, online when I was just posting I was questioning you. What is this? Are you sober? I mean, this is not correct. But you didn't answer because apparently you knew more than I did.
First.
Yeah, it was like that. This is April 1st and any other Fool's Day combined. I mean, it's so perfect. It got extremely well ranged troops. It has extremely well close combat troops. It has survivability. It has beauty. It has there's nothing in this box, and also, I mean, combine this with the other box. I mean,
with the starter box.
Yeah. You can't fail. I mean, you can't not have fun with it. It's just.
Yeah, we did talk about this a little while when you arrived here today. That these two boxes, the starter box and the army box for the Steel Guard, are an incredible way to get started with the game.
Yeah.
Because you can deal with anything.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you're not able to deal with in one way or another. The only big drawback is, drawbacks I should say, is that you have not as many units, activations as other players maybe, because the Steel Guards are expensive units, and they do move quite slowly, apart from Kowalski and his flying troop. So that would be kind of the only kind of downside, but overall this is a very, very solid starting point for the game for a lot of people, I would say.
And one thing that you really have to think about as well is, since we are getting a little older, some of us, or all of us, what we found is that it's very good tournament-wise to play fewer units and have the time and the possibility to really use your skills and use your units. Mm-hmm. And so this is the optimal tournament army as well. Not only does they produce insanely amount of hurt, and with the non-ethically correct anti-infantry unit, they are a tournament-winning army.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah, potentially. As I bring anything, I seriously can't see, and please do that, all you out there. Try to prove that any other army box is better than this one. You can't. It's okay.
Prove it you can't.
No. So I'm sorry. It's just this is the best they've done, and also visually, of course, because the frogs are immensely beautiful as it is.
They are really, really cool units. Yeah.
Yeah.
So exactly what comes in this box then, and specifically for those who can't see the box here. Yeah. We have the Steel Guard Assault Squad. This is classic one. Yeah. Nothing really weird there. We have the Steel Guard Sniper Squad. The cheapest unit that they have, and probably the most underrated for other people, because even if they're only 9 points, there's just 2 guys in there, and most snipers people just don't care that much about. They might kill a commander or put some hurt on a hero. These guys can take down tanks.
Yeah. And also, since if you use them correctly, you position them correctly, you get the control of that area of the battlefield, because they have they have the super scopes, the power scopes, so they can, when they sustain, they hit on both crosshair and a nation symbol. I've many times positioned my snipers to survey an objective, for instance. Yeah, the guy can move in, as Cal literally tried in last game. He moved in his a squad of 5 guys and a hero. Yeah. And he survived a few turns. But I was taking 2 lives every turn with my snipers, who were just standing 8 squares away, because they can fire 10. And they go, oh yeah, that's another life. When I advance with my Steel Guards now, I don't feel you should have that heavy support weapon. Let's take that out of the picture. Yeah, you have 4 lives on your little hero, but then these guys, the first squad,
the assault squad,
when they advance and they get into range of 4, they deal out like 25 or something like damage 20 on that little squad that stands there. Oh yeah. please do. And it's like the combination with these two is just so immense.
Yeah, and finally for the infantry, as you kind of mentioned, the much discussed anti-infantry squad, or the anti-everything squad, as we can call them, because they are ridiculously powerful, but also kind of ridiculously expensive. Fortunately, 18 points for these, but they can just decimate stuff. They can just take out absolutely anything. But what's very interesting about this box is that also we get a new type of walker that we haven't seen before. It's the kind of final member of the triumvirate that we've seen before. We have the Type 45 and the Type 47. This is Type 46, the KV-3V, heavy anti-tank walker. So it's the basic chassis as the previous walkers for the SSU here, but this time with dual anti-aircraft guns, and there's basically the same as with most others of that type, like the Jagd Luther and those kinds.
Yeah, dual anti-tank guns.
Yes. So
the difference between the old one really is that this one only has one machine gun instead of two separate machine guns, but the one it has is on top of it, so it's got a turret and it's a twin heavy machine gun, so it also rolls more dice than one of the old ones. So you get a few, I think it's like one more dice against the aircraft.
Catastrophe! Sorry.
I tried to pose it a bit here for the viewers, but as it's not painted in any way, it's a little bit of a give here in the joints. That's something that will go away once you prime and paint it. So, right. So,
sorry, we'll search for the
we'll clean up the mess in a bit.
Sorry,
but it's. Like you were saying there, Ludda, this is a very, very cool army box, and you don't really need anything else. If you're wondering if you want to play something simple and competitive, perfect.
Because since also what is good with this, makes this even more interesting, is that it has more dice against aircrafts now. And
I think it's
with
like one more die compared to the other one, and it's actually 1 point cheaper, right?
Yeah, as well. So
it's it's
and it is guard faction actually.
Yeah. I always felt like these KV-3Vs should have had damage resilience, or like that they don't have it is makes you hesitant, or because they break easy. But and apparently, especially when you play them with the steel guards, it feels a little bit strange that the small guys are damage resilient, but the big guys are not.
But on the other hand, it kind of makes sense because you want your steel guard to be the front line, and these are your long range support.
Oh yeah.
So,
and like 16 squares away, range of 16, you really can target things from afar that could hinder your steel guard's advance, and your opponent now has to to think about everything when you come with this army, because usually you know that I have a few turns, I can pop a few bullets at the steel guards when they advance, but with some really powerful long range stuff behind them makes you have to deal with that, and it's just I'm
to kind
over
of
the moon
top
for
it
this
off. I also wanted to mention, basically for newer players, but still, the hero Guaylo.
Yeah,
he's been out for quite some time now, and he's such a good hero and such a good complement to this army.
Definitely,
so that is I would say the logical extra thing that you want.
Yeah, and he is available in the headquarters box.
Right.
So that would be like the triumvirate if you want to get started. Get the starter box, the army box, and the HQ box.
One of the downsides of steel guards that's always mentioned is that they are slower, but I mean they aren't that slow.
No.
Their walking speed is the same as a lot of other units in the game, so that's fine, but they can't really do that fast push towards an objective or whatever they need. They can't do that, but with heroes like the new hero Kowalski, or even with the older Guaylo, who has what's the skill it's called?
Move and fire.
Move and fire, yeah.
Mm.
Meaning he could move 3 and attack.
Mm-hmm.
Or he can be paired with the snipers, so they can still move and attack with very good chance of hitting and killing stuff. Yeah. That little change makes a lot of difference in the end. So
Also that since I always have to put another spin on things, I though like to say that you buy the HQ box to the Steel Guards to be able to do the original platoon, because it's better than people give it credit for. The fact that you can still advance and shoot with your frogs, and when they are so slow, I mean, okay, it was a big part that in the end, Guaylo made his way through my last game there with Kalen finally arrived at one of the objectives. It was crucial, but I would say he wouldn't have been able to do what he did to get there if I didn't have that platoon. So the other ones could advance and keep him busy while... So I just feel that, you really want that HQ to be to get the platoon of advance and fire.
But to be fair, the other platoon, the Guaylo platoon, is also a very good platoon.
It's not a bad platoon, and I enjoy playing against it, and I love that people use it, because it's bad when it's just one platoon that, for an army, that okay, you only play this one, the other ones are crap. And that's not the case. But for me, the way I play, it is unfortunately that way, that I want the original Steel Guard platoon first. The Guaylo, it's not my playing style, it's the same thing. I think I can still work that solution. But
of course, it's good to have the options.
Yeah, definitely. It's just the flavor taste there. It's nothing to do with the competence or better platoon than one and the other. It's just the way I am, so to speak. That's why I play one of them.
Yeah. Sorry.
Gesundheit.
And then we have the biggest box in the bunch here.
Yeah, biggest of them all.
This is a very, very exciting box. This is the Battle for Babylon 2-player battle box. And we've seen before the Battle for Sverograd boxes that were available. We had 3 different versions there with the different combinations of Allied, SSU, and Axis. This one is only one kind of version of it. So what you get in this box is the USMC versus the Blutkreuz. So 2 very iconic armies, I would say, for the game.
Oh, yeah.
And you get 1 hero, you get 2 infantry squads, and you get 1 walker for each side. And you also get some interesting stuff as would kind of fit a starter set. You get the rule books, you get the unit cards, you get some terrain tiles and tank traps and dice and stuff like that. And you also get 2 gaming mats, which is really nice.
Yeah, so I mean, compared to other starters, this is basically 2 starters put into one, but with some extra stuff. And usually the walkers included in the starters are like light walkers or light vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, they are not. They are heavy, or at least medium. I'm not sure what the Jagluther is.
It's kind of. I would say it's the heavier part of medium.
Yeah, it's vehicle 5 anyways, and the 6-shooter is vehicle 6. So
Yes.
They are fairly heavy.
Yeah, so we should actually go through exactly what units you get for each side. So if we start with the USMC, you get for the hero. Let's see. I always these are the Babylon guys, so I always kind of mix these up.
Frank,
yeah,
right?
I'm sure this is. That's pretty sure that's
the
correct.
knuckle guy.
Yeah, that's the and stay down guy. And then you get 1 support squad, and let's see, is the mortar squad? Yeah.
No,
Is
it's
it?
the
No,
machine guns.
it's the heavy machine gun squad,
guns.
yes.
Yeah.
And then you get one of it's the Mavericks, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the shotguns.
Let's see, the close assault guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get a 6-shooter walker with them. So a really big, nasty thing there. For the Blutkreuz, part of it then. The hero there is, of course, Sigrid. You get one of the standard old school zombie squads with the. Let's see, we will see if you get the options for the heads there. You get the Sturm versions of the gorillas, and you get the Jagdluther. So very, very classic units there.
Yeah, it's two very, very interesting armies, and the box in itself, I was over the moon with this one. I'm almost as interested and over the moon with the new this one as well. They have the Battle for Babylon box, but it's still the Steelguard box is the one you want to buy.
Okay.
So
the mats you get are the same type of mat that you get with the Paradise Lost book.
That's even more interesting because then you
Yes.
get the you're getting some woohoo. Well, no, but this, it is.
Yeah, and you get also some terrain tiles in there.
That's
And
nice.
this thing is very interesting. You get
A house as well. Yeah, well, yeah.
this
good.
is something that we're going to have to look at a little bit closer. You get a booklet, quite a thick one, titled The European Starting Rules. And what's really interesting here is that you get 5 different language versions of the rules in the same booklet. So you have English, German, French, Italian, and Polish, all in the same book. This is
Swedish?
Oh, come on. But this is absolutely awesome. This is really, really cool.
Definitely, and that they have excluded the U.S. I think it's just super. It feels so right for some
Yeah,
reason.
of course, you get the Union Jack there.
No, but seriously, what's so fun and good with this box is that it's almost the old coffin box. I mean, with the Sverograd boxes, we got some attempts to get the old coffin box back, which everyone loved. But since now that they have opted the strength of the walkers, we get it's getting there. It's almost like the big coffin box, and it's wonderful. I would, and also another thing that is so interesting with this is that it's two very different armies. They are playable in such a different way. You do not play these armies the same way. So either you and your friend want to split this, or you want to have two different options of playing Dust, and then you buy this one. Because if you want the close combat, more gritty, in-your-face kind of stuff, you want to play the Bloodcroids. If you want to have them more movable, a little more shootable, you go with the USMC. And the fact that you already, from day one, has the options to play different things, it's so smart of them to choose the composition. And I would love to see how balanced these two are. For some reason, with the right players, I think they can be. But I mean, it's a very different with the Type 6 and the Type 5 Walker. But they can still kill each other outright if they just get the right possibility. If you have a good opponent, you can accept that you played the Luther with the as Snow Lynx, and then you can put Sigrid in it, and then that Walker explodes. They have the card.
The Snow Lynx card you get.
It's a Snow Lynx
Very
card.
cool
Very
indeed.
interesting. Very good, very good. Then it grows on you. You get more options, and because I've had some very nice success with her in that. I've actually not understood that how hard hitting she is in that, and that's one of my big, like the guy on the flying mat here. Should you put Sigrid in the Walker or outside?
Yeah.
You can do so many more things depending on what you do. So given that option right from the get-go, this is just...
It's a really, really nice box. And when you look at them, I mean, these are the new ready-to-play models as well. So these are not reboxed old stock, which is very nice to see. And you can really see the detail on the sculpts on these. This looks absolutely amazing. It's obvious that these are the same molds as the old kind of bendy zombies, but just with this new stiffer plastic and with these details in it, they look absolutely lovely. And to confirm, you do get the gas mask heads for both the zombies and the gorillas, and they do not include the other options in this box. So you know that's what you get.
That's good point out. One could always get a little bit disappointed with that, but with this mega deal, so to speak, and everything, I'm totally down with they only have one. Because this is probably the first squad you buy anyway of the monkeys and the zombies. So when you buy a separate one by the side of it, so to speak, you can swap the heads on that one as well instead, or well.
That is true. One final thing to note about this also is that it is marked as a limited edition. We don't know how limited this is going to be yet, but my hope is that this is going to be available until they release their next two-player starter box.
That they have to do. It would be a really own goal if the studio now releases this and just let it float around. Because basically, I guess they don't release this because the other ones have been selling so poorly. I'm guessing this is the result of the good turnout for the Sverograd battle boxes.
That would be my guess as well, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, a new one of these every half year, I hope.
Just imagine, we now got the Battle for Babylon, and next up you get the Battle for Rome.
Yeah.
And you get some different type of tiles, maybe a new scenario in the box, and there's so many possibilities with all of the different theaters they had in Paradise Lost now.
But I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into each product. So
of course.
Once every 6 months, I think it's too fast of a pace.
Maybe.
But I'm thinking maybe like one a year or so. That could probably do it, because then you could also tie it into the expansions, which usually comes, as far as we know, about once a year. So you can.
So. This is also one of those interesting things that kind of puts a spin on that where to start question. And if you are two players who are thinking about getting into Dust, then I can't think of a better alternative than this box right here. The other starter boxes are absolutely fantastic if you already know what faction you want to play.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're completely new to the game, you have never played it, and you are two people who want to get started, then get this Battle for Babylon box while it is available, because it's amazing.
Yeah. That's always the dilemma, to like get what you want, what you think is cool, and if you are limited to one box, that could of course be a bad thing. So that's obviously why they choose to have so many single player starters, because you could choose whatever you want to start with. This one is a lot more limited, of course, but if you do like or don't really care or know where to start, it's a fantastic start for two players.
Yeah, I would say this, of course, the coffin box will always be the best one.
Yeah.
You can't, well, perhaps in the future, because then back in the old days, it was also so extremely cheap. So, I mean, you got so much content. We don't know the pricing of this one, we have to say. They could, unfortunately, price it too high, and then it could be... But I don't think they have done it. I think they will price it right. But this one, after the coffin box, by content, surely. The Fantasy Flight box was a good box, but I would still take this one before that. And it is, of course, an improvement from the Sverograd boxes, which were great and good, but still, this is like... It's a statement, I would say, because they said also they would never do this.
Yeah.
But now, so to me, they must have either been so desperate they do whatever, but they have not sent those signals. We have seen no desperation. Everything is going great for the studios, it seems, at least from my perspective. So this is, to me, a statement. We are now comfortable. We are in a happy place in the market. We know that we will manage this type of boxes. Because
we see a demand for it, and we can do it. So let's do it.
So this is like when a big sport club goes out and buys that player that perhaps they pay a little bit extra for, but they just want to send the statements to the shareholders and everything. Look, we're bringing because we know. So the amount of positive energy I get from watching this little thing here is just, could we have something that I can be negative about? I don't feeling right.
No,
I have a fever.
I'm sorry. I don't think we can do that.
Everything is great.
Because I think it's only going to get worse for you then. Because next up we have something else that you kind of felt almost the same kind of fever about, I think, when we talked about this. This is part re-release and part new. This is the Allied plane. And this also a ready-to-play version, but instead of having 2 different versions, you now have 3. This is the Storm, Thunder, and Tornado. And yeah, this has been going on for a while, and you also get a little bit of rework. You can see it directly just by looking at the front. You do get the faction symbols here, both for the allies as a block, but also for the USMC. And it says here, includes 3 allied and 2 USMC cards.
Yeah, I mean, that's super interesting that you get not only like the new Tornado version is of course super cool and people have been waiting for it, but you now get faction version for it, and also the old ones are slightly updated, right?
Yeah, well, I was thinking, are you too demented, or why don't you get to the most important thing? Is the new rules we've gotten for the Allied planes.
Yeah.
And I being too much of an Allied 2 player, I didn't even notice that the USMC logo was on there. But bringing all the planes to the USMC, that brings a lot of more fun to the USMC. How interesting, and more even better that it was paired next to this little baby, because if you start with this as a USMC, why wouldn't you just want to play beside that, especially with the new bomb rules?
Absolutely. So let's just talk about that, because we have them right here on the cards. So if you look at the Storm, I mean we kind of recognize some stuff here. It's still 17 points. It has the sextuple heavy machine guns. You got 2 one-use heavy bombs. But you have a new rule here called Bombing Run.
Yeah.
If the aircraft only uses its bombs and no other weapons using volley to attack, target 4 squares or 1 artillery template, and that's if you are playing gridless.
Yeah.
So that is a really big difference. Suddenly you can bomb a really wide area and you can do it twice.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting there.
And a little bit by mistake, we actually playtested this, you and I, a few months ago when we played one scenario, and we heard the rumors, so we went in and tried it, and it was, even though you shut down the plane immediately after I did it, I felt like that was a very good advantage for me, and it really balances up if you even if you lose the plane immediately.
Yeah. Because you do get that opportunity to make that really big attack.
Yeah.
And if the plane survives, you can do it twice.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. Really cool.
But also you can, since it is volley, you can do it once. I mean, look at this. You have
yeah, that's true. It's you have to use the volley attack as well. So you have to use both bombs in one attack. But that means that you get for the Storm, is it? Yeah. So normally it's single blast, but in this case with the volley, you're going to get double blast then. For the Thunder, that uses the medium rockets, and it has the same. It has the same rule. If it only uses the medium rockets and it uses volley, then you target 4 squares and you get 4 blast on 4 squares. That's really cool. Yeah. Really cool.
All of a sudden, if all those zombies or all those ninjas in smoke are coming at you, well, hello, baby, I'm bombing you. And I mean, it's 18 points. That's quite fun 36 points, I mean, that's okay. Because if you can dent so much thing with these now, that when you, even if there are a lot of, anti-air walkers around them, I mean, they are probably a type 4.
Yeah.
You have 4 blast 3 on those guys as well. If these guys combo and go in hard on the first turn, do their bombing runs, they don't have that much of an attack weapon afterwards, but flying around, stinging, I'm just feeling this could be so freaking good.
And I think what definitely is going to happen is that people are going to start playing them because that's been the big problem. We almost never see them getting used, unfortunately, because the models are amazing.
Definitely.
They are just lovely, especially with if you paint them really nice, and the studio paint work is amazing. I'm just in love with how they look, but very, very rarely do you see one getting used. And
what I'm thinking, what I need to say here when it comes to gameplay with that is, like I've said many times before, it's also the threat of what this model can do. I mean, in this case, it's an airplane, but we've said it before. It means that the opponents need to change their plan a little bit.
Yeah.
In this case, they can't bunch up too much. They can't, do it like this. They need to spread out in case of, like we've talked about ninjas, for example.
Yeah.
They need to spread their smoke a little bit more and think about how they play. So even if you don't use the bombing run ability, you sort of still use it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Definitely. So true. And that gives your other units the possibility to perhaps hurt them in the ways you wanted from the beginning.
Exactly.
So it's just... I'm really looking forward to this, and I only had one plane before, but the second plane now is really on the cards for the Allied. I've been wanting one for the Axis as well, because that's also one thing. But beforehand, you felt like one plane shoots down easily, but if you get two, you can come in. But then they rise in the amount of money you have to pay for them. I mean, not money, but the point costs, and that tweaks the army on the wrong balance. But I really feel like they're on something here with the Allied planes.
Hoping now for a cool Allied pilot.
Yeah, that would
one
be
of these
cool.
babies. So.
Yeah, and as we mentioned earlier, the Storm and the Thunder are the two planes here that also are available as the USMC versions. The final one, the Tornado, does not. It's only block. This is 23 points, and it does not have the bombing run rule because it doesn't have any bombs or missiles in this case. Instead, it has the sextuple heavy machine guns, as all the other planes do. And the other stats-wise is also the same. The big difference is the other weapon. It's the twin heavy phaser. 9-1 for all infantry and 2-5 on all levels of vehicles. Yeah, 23 points for this. I mean, the big thing that you have with this is that it's very agile, it's very mobile. You can shoot at anything round one with it, basically. And the range for this phaser is 3, so it's like with the other, you have to go close in order to fit it. 23 points as usual. For phasers, it's a quite high premium to get it. What do you think? Do you think we will see a lot of this version?
No. I'm sorry. I feel like this is even worse than the Tesla chopper. So I would rather pay 25 points to get that because I think I can use that better because that also stays alive more. If you go for a card against card, they're not only 25, 23. Perhaps we should do something with those. But if you look at it, you immediately see they're almost priced the same. This one will go down first turn or maybe second turn. My Tesla chopper will probably stay alive second turn, third turn. I can have more output of it. This also, it's very good that they have 2 dice and they do 5.
Yeah.
So something happens when they... But the anti-air walkers I need to shoot down with this have more than 5 lives. I have to hit with both dice, and I can't sustain because it's an airplane. So unfortunately, Well,
I'm
finally, I'm a little bit
basically-
negative. I'm a little bit negative. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm basically on the same page. I like it, but until there is an allied pilot who can actually use it, meaning to either march move and then attack, or move and then sustain fire.
Or even just that that you kind of mentioned before, that we had that universal pilot with Lucky that can pilot planes as well as vehicles. That could be an opportunity, because that could be enough to get that extra die, that extra hit to take out the anti-infantry.
It needs something extra at least. That's how I feel, because like you said, just by itself, it's too many points that will probably get shot down too easily in a lot of cases. So it's a bit. I mean, sure, there's going to be games where it's amazing as it is, because the opponent can't do too much about it, because they don't bring enough anti-aircraft stuff. But in most games, I would say, at least tournament lists, it's going to struggle.
It is. There is an unofficial way to solve it, but unfortunately, I don't think they want to do that. I'm also a little bit too interested in that, since I now, since a few months back, have my own little Ricky. If they could just make him official, because with his skill of doing you bunch of monkeys with the aircraft, or that would be, because then perhaps you send it in next from last, just get it to survive, get it to do a double take on the first turn, and then even if it crashes on the third, it could be just about what.
Right. So let's go to the final preview box here, and this is also something that's really cool. And this is a scenery piece, and with all the exactly. I also want to go to mention that with all the recent scenery pieces from the studio, this is heavy duty stuff. This is the Pillar of the Elders high quality resin model, and this is kind of the same style, same family as we've seen with the previous kind of cultist themed scenery pieces that they've released.
But the interesting part is now, and we don't suspect it to be that way, is there a stat card in it? Because it has a stats. It has game technique abilities, but I guess we have to wait for the next expansion to know what this is. So this is actually
exactly. They mention these specifically in the Paradise Lost stories, and these kind of pop up all over the place. And this is really nice.
I can see this popping up in many places.
You know what I really like about this specifically is that. One thing that's very different from the other previous items in this range is that you get different strata of rock here. So there's different types of rock at different levels. Oh, I love this. I really do. This is, and there's actually a bit more of a depth to it as well compared to some of the older. So this is very, very nice indeed.
It is. I'm not touching it yet. I think Magnus should be able to touch it before me.
So, you think it will get dirty when you touch it?
Yeah. Also, what's very, very good or interesting with it, it's that it's hollow inside. So hopefully this will be easier for them to ship around, so that you can order it and not be broke due to the postage or something from it,
but it's not really thin. But
no.
So it doesn't feel brittle in any way.
No. It's solid. It's blocky, and it's. I mean, paint these one-ups and do the shells in perhaps some interesting. Colorings.
You can do some like iridescent paints or stuff like that and really make it look really weird.
Yeah. And that scenario that they have with, it's like 6 or 8 of these. Okay, that's the only problem.
Yeah.
How can I afford 6 of these? I want them. I need them. Yeah. I wish I could rob a bank and get away with it. If any of you listenings out there have a good scheme I can pull here in Sweden, so I can get money enough to buy 6 or 8 of those, send me a little email. What do you? I don't know.
Yeah, so
it's.
So in conclusion, people really have a lot of really nice and really cool stuff to look forward to.
Yeah. I seriously think, I know we had a wonderful time when we got those first shipments of the pre-painted or pre-playable units. That was an amazing event for us. But I can't think of anything coming remotely close to this one in just one spread, actually. I think this is...
the quality on display here and just... it is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, we are, of course, we're fans. So we are bound to be on the positive side. But I do understand what you say here. I mean, normally we have some criticisms. And this time we didn't really have that much.
No, we had one thing. And also our own shortage of money, which is just like... But
it's really nice to see that they are like continuously pushing that boundary of quality forward and forward and forward. So it's cool.
The best thing that has happened to the Allied airplanes since they first arrived. The best starter set from the beginning of the game, almost from the beginning of time, since the coffin box. The best battle box by any means.
Or army box.
Army box.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry. One of the most utilizable and funnable little heroes over there, and well.
Justine number 6.
Yeah.
We talked about her.
Even
quickly.
though, and then Well, I'm gonna be a little bit. It's not the best terrain piece they ever produced. There's not. But since it's so well anticipated, it's such a nice quality, and the fact that you have already scenarios where you want it, and you know there will be a lot, because that's the big funny thing is you have now 1 year to collect enough of those to play the next campaign book. So it's great that they put it out now, so you can perhaps buy 1, 2, 3 before, and then it comes the expansion, and then you can buy the other ones after it. So it's like, this was. I hope, listeners, that this was as good for you as it was for us. Let me have a cigar and lie with a whiskey on the bed. And
Right.
Sorry.
So then, back from a little break, let's go over to next part of the show, which is the upper hand. So kind of a thing that's returns after a little hiatus, and this time we are going to look at the different generals available in the game. And for a long time there were only 2, and they came out with the Babylon bunch of units. But recently we got the 3rd general in the Japanese army, of all places, which is really interesting. So we're going to kind of compare and contrast and see how we think that these different units compare to one another. So if we start kind of by looking at what do these have in common. And it's not that much, honestly. They're all heroes. They're all Soldier 1. They all have the same kind of basic movement stats. And they all share the officer and general skills. And
they all have 4 damage.
They all have 4 hit points.
Yeah.
They do also, all of them have different weaponry, of course, and they have a single unique skill that no other unit in the game has. So we're going to kind of compare that. But let's talk about the general skill first, which is something that is unique to these 3 units and what that does. I mean, officer is an officer. We all know what an officer does, but a general is a little bit more. The general rule on the card reads, when joined to a command squad, this hero rolls 1 extra dice when attempting officer special actions.
Well, actually, that's only part of the rule because
yes, as in a lot of ways.
In the older rules, in the older cards, a bit of that rule is missing. So, but on the new one, on the Japanese Fumiko, the more complete one is stated. So, and it's a very important addition that the hero may take a free officer action in each activation.
Yes.
Yep.
So that's a big deal.
That is a very big deal. So it doubles the usability of those actions. Well, in a way, because it depends on how you want to use it. Because you can, of course, run the general alone without a command squad, and then you get the 2 normal actions as well. So that's the question: do you want 2 different? Do you want the 4 different? If you have them separate, if you have 1 command squad and 1 general, you get 4 different command roles, basically. But if you combine them into 1 unit, you get 3 roles, which use 2 dice each, which is a bit of a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Well, wait a minute. The general, doesn't it get the free
she gets
action
the
always?
She gets always, so that's
matter
actually
why.
so it's actually 5 actions versus
Potential,
3.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if that's the only thing you use the general for, then maybe you want to split them to have as many possibilities as possible.
That is depending on how you want to use it, because also if you really know that my army is built around this one big unit that I really, really, really need to reactivate, then maybe you want to put them together so you get a total of 6 dice in order. Because you keep them split, you get a total of 5. So you get that 1 extra chance to reactivate if you have that critical unit. But if you want to have more a versatile kind of setup, then maybe you want to split them up.
I can also point out that perhaps if you have, like you say, that special unit, perhaps that needs to be rearmed as well.
That is true.
Then it's better to, of course, combine them, because then you have 2 actions to rearm and 4 to reactivate.
Yeah.
And that should be okay with both, because rearm you do on both crosshairs and national symbols.
Exactly. And that's also a little bit of a difference in how the card reads, because the older version of the card says that you may take it to... the oldest version says this hero rolls 1 extra dice when attempting officer special actions, and the newer one is it is the same. So it's all officer special actions. So it's reactivate, it's rearm, it's rally as well. So that's kind of the thing. So let's look at the special skills or the unique skill for each of the units, and we haven't really talked about who these are. For the Axis, we have the Desert Fox. This is one of the few historic accurate kind of figures available in the game, actually. Is Erwin Rommel.
Only one, isn't it?
Yeah, it could actually be the only one.
Actual name.
Yeah, because there are definitely characters that are inspired by real persons from World War II, but this is actually the guy. This is Rommel himself. So that's a rarity for Dust.
Yeah.
And his special rule is Desert Fox, quite appropriately, because that is his nickname as well. And this rule reads: any unit reactivated by Rommel using Get Moving You Bunch of Monkeys gains at the double for that activation. Might not be that big of a thing. I mean, at the double, just as a reminder for people who might not remember what that rule does, it means that if you have at the double and do a march move, you can do a free move action after the march move. You cannot do any other actions with that unit, though, because the march move is counted as 2 actions, and then another move that's 3, and that is your limit.
Yeah, but
so
it's the only way in the game to do that combination of a march move plus a move.
yeah.
Yep.
Is to use the at the double skill. Yes, that is correct. And this is a way to make any unit get it. Well, the one kind of exception is, of course, aircraft, because normally officers cannot target aircraft. So that's kind of the limitation. But any ground-based unit you can get, if you use him to reactivate it, then they gain at the double and can move very far indeed, usually.
Yeah.
So if you have that unit that really needs to suddenly be on the other part of the map, basically, that's when you use this. So it's very situational.
Yeah, or if you build an army that is that you because that we get to that when you go to the Spetsnaz general later. So I'm preempting a little bit, but you could have done a German army that needs to move quickly, and then he could be very instrumental of bringing all your troops.
Especially when you are using like pick up and deliver type of scenarios. You need to capture a certain object on the map and bring it back to another point. Then this activation can be crucial for you. So it is situational, but I do see a lot of situations where it can be useful.
No. Any unit could do well with doing at the double move at first turn and then just moving in for the kill in the second turn because they already outflank you if you play on 2 mats or stuff like that. So it's very interesting that it's just any unit.
I have actually played the Desert Fox quite a few times, and what I feel is that the best use is often on a vehicle just for that surprise move, because people don't expect one of the, not super fast German walkers suddenly, get that burst of speed and be in a, completely different position.
Yeah, standing just behind the corner instead of miles away from it. So you know that next time he will pop out and go, woohoo, hee hee.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting skill. It's 10 points for this guy. Then we move on to the SSU. We got General Iron Joe Josef Akersovich Cameron, and he's 8 points, so a little bit cheaper. His special unique skill is called Get Moving You ... And what this skill reads is succeeds on crosshairs as well as nation symbol when using Get Moving You monkeys on a Spetsnaz unit. This is really good.
It is. It is a very nice skill to have. Also, that because you have the platoon rules for the Spetsnaz, you have to point that out. That gets all of your Spetsnaz units to get moving. You bunch of monkeys. No, sorry. Get moving at the double.
At the double.
Sorry. My bad. Which is. You can get the Desert Fox skill for free, but you have to stay in Spetsnaz mode.
Yeah. In a way. And what I really find interesting about this is really a situation where you can combine the different types of officer actions that you can do. That you can rearm or you can rally and then you can reactivate and still have the same chance, or even better if you use one action to rearm and then 2 actions to try and reactivate. And this is also a guy that I would probably not put together with a command squad, because then if I need to, the command squad can reactivate him and you can do the whole thing again. So
it's true. Although since he gets those extra dice and stuff, having him in a command squad, and their Spetsnaz command squad is so aggressive, you can both move, shoot, and reactivate with success, which makes it so much more versatile and interesting.
That is a good point, and with his extra hit points as well, then you can soak a bit of hits and not reduce the efficiency of the unit itself. So very interesting skill there. Magnus, any thoughts about that?
Well, not really, because chaining reactivations, like you said, reactivating him to be able to do something else, it can be good, but I kind of find that a bit, I would say, very situational.
Oh, of course.
Usually it's better to, that's something you do when you're sort of desperate, almost.
That is true.
Maybe by the end of the game to really do something because you've lost your radio man, whatever, because you're in a bad position and you have to do it more or less because it requires that extra die roll and the command squad don't get any kind of bonus. You have to do it like the normal way, which is kind of risky. So
it is, I agree, and the point that I was trying to make is that you get the opportunity to be able to do that if you need to.
Yeah, and if you have to do it, it's not as far-fetched with this guy as with some of the others, basically.
Exactly, that was my point.
Skill. Yeah.
Right, and like I said, 8 points for this guy, so he's a little bit cheaper than the Desert Fox. Next up, we got Fumiko, General Fumiko Kojima, head of the Cadet Academy. This girl is 15 points. This is really expensive for a Soldier 1 hero. Very expensive indeed. But she is really cool. Because her special skill is something that we haven't really seen anywhere before. Messes with a part of the rules that the game hasn't really dabbled with before. It's Tactician. This hero grants 3 pass each turn, even if you have more activations than your opponent. And this is a relatively new thing that they added in the game, that at the start of the game you count up how many activations you have versus your opponents, and the player who has fewer gains a number of pass tokens equal to the difference of activations. So with Fumiko you always get 3 extra of those pass tokens.
Yeah, and I need to correct you there, because it's very important that you shouldn't say start of the game. Start of every turn. I know you knew it, but just you didn't hear yourself say it. So
no, that's a very good point, because
that really tricks it up. And when you look at that rule, it really seems like, well, it's the same rule as before, but oh no. I've played a few games now that it really has been. Unfortunately, you tend to forget it because you're so you're used to play in a certain game style, a certain mode. But in a few places, there really been important that this turn actually switches, and I have now all these tokens that I wasn't supposed to have. Or
the big kind of difference is that since you count the difference at the start of the turn. Then you still keep those tokens regardless of what happens during the turn. So before, it was really at the end of the turn, they say, am I able to pass now? How many? What is the difference at this point? But now you just count it at one point.
Yeah,
that's a really big difference that kind of trips people up because they don't think about that.
And
so,
with this,
I mean, she's got obviously better firepower than the other 2 guys.
We're going to get into that because it's a very stark difference there.
The point I wanted to say right now is that the big points difference, why she is so much more expensive, is Tactician. I'm sure of it. I'm still not sure how good my estimation of this skill is. How much do I value this skill? I'm not sure about that. I need to play. I haven't played with or against her yet, so I don't know. But I have the feeling that it is significant.
Yeah, well, if you play against certain players that have a very special agenda with their army, who build armies that are supposed to be working in a certain way, this really fucks them up, basically. I'm sorry, man, but that's what it does. You really pull the rug out under, just like if with the Storch. If you are good and flying it close to people and surviving with it, for those that have to reactivate with their HQs. Also, like something wrong is going to do. This gives you that possibility to really say, nice kind of setup you have there, but in this game it doesn't work, baby. You just have to play like the rest of us.
Yeah, because suddenly you can do like a ninja swarm or something like that and still be able to pass.
Yeah.
That's quite powerful in the right situations. And so you mentioned the weapons. Now we've gone over the skill difference here, so let's talk about the weapons then. So we can start with Fumiko since we're still on her. Her weaponry is a submachine gun and a katana. There's really nothing weird there, but she also has a rocket launcher. So basically the same as the Axis Panzerfaust. And like the most other heroes with those kinds of weapons, this is limitless use. And this is also a big difference because she does pack a punch. And the times I've seen her get used on the battlefield, she has been used as a frontline officer. Just because of that, you get the extra action to use an officer special action, but you still have those 2 other actions. You can still move, you can still fire, and then you can try to reactivate something, and you can put a lot of hurt on people.
Yeah, and those tactician markers, they don't care if you're in the front side or the back side or left or right. You get them anyway.
And they don't care if she gets killed during the turn. You still get them at the beginning of the turn, so you can use them.
Why not? And boosting her with 5 lives, whatever she's working with. I mean, I can see that. I can see you putting her with a normal squad of cadets, actually, not necessarily the HQ, just to reduce the cost of it.
Yeah,
so
that could be a possibility. Yeah. So let's look at Iron Joe. His weaponry is very simple. He has a pistol. That's it. He is definitely not meant to be a frontline fighter in any way.
No, but combining him, he still can be, because he can still use his skills so effectively. So he can be in the mix, which is also nice. You can put him in a killer squad or a saboteur squad, and you can have him in the mix of it, and he works
but
the way...
you wouldn't expect him to do much of the killing.
No. He just makes sure everyone else stays on point. But he's a little bit... He can be used as the Red Banner was supposed to be used. I mean, more or less, have him in the middle, walking to, reactivating left and right, and stuff.
Which is thematic.
Yeah.
And finally, the Desert Fox, and this is a little bit interesting because he also only has a pistol, but in this case, it's a laser pistol. Yeah. Of course, only the finest for the leader of the Axis here.
Definitely.
So it's kind of similar scenario here, but he can potentially put a little bit more hurt because of the laser rule. So, yeah.
And he can actually attack aircraft with it.
Yeah.
Just like Sigrid. The true leader of the Axis block. Just to point that out.
So very, very, very easy there. And
one note, I'm not sure if you mentioned it earlier, but the Desert Fox, he comes either as a block unit or as an NDAC unit.
That is a good point. And
while Iron Joe is only Spetsnaz and Fumiko is, she's IGN.
Yeah, they don't really have any subfactions yet. I can kind of see that they will have the cadets as their own subfaction at one point, but that's probably years from now. Yeah. And in that case, she will probably be cadet faction specifically, since she is head of the cadet academy. I don't think she will be a block unit at that point, if that happens. Right, so if we go to looks then, here I kind of feel like Fumiko has a little bit of an unfair advantage because she is a lot newer. I mean, the studio has made some big leaps in model quality the last few years. I don't want to say that Iron Joe or the General or the Desert Fox are bad in any way, but they are a little bit more bland. I mean, they kind of just stand there and just look.
But still they are, generals. They need to keep their profile. They need to.
That is true. They are thematic sculpts, absolutely.
But I agree with you. If you look at the sculpt and if you look at the pose, I would say Fumiko is a very nice one because she has a little bit of a dynamic pose, but not too much. Yeah. Because she's not the ninja or something like that.
Exactly. And what I really like about the Fumiko pose as well, they did not do that kind of cliche foot on a rock thing that unfortunately a lot of models do. I understand why they do it, because it's an easy way to add dynamism to a pose, but it seems like not only
foot on a rock or foot on a box.
Yeah, you see that a lot in all different model ranges.
Please, the studio, don't overdo that.
Yeah, so from time to time, I have no problem with that.
Models here and there, it's fine, but not too many of them.
Yeah, you're getting a little GV death skull kind of cranium kind of
a lot
vibe.
of companies do it because, like Johannes said, it's an easy way to sort of change a little bit. But
That's true.
And I hear you guys, and you're younger, so you are attracted to everything that is new. It's more like your thing. I mean, you can't sit still for a moment.
Attracted to beautiful women, sure. But you are...
No, but let's face it. You are so wrong. You talk about powerful or dimensional stance, something that just personifies the stats and everything. I mean, okay, and Rommel is Rommel, but and he's fine as he is. But Iron Joe, it's the best posture of the game. He's there to make sure everyone knows the severity of getting out of hand if you're a Spetsnaz. He's just there to, but with his presence, he lets you know. He's just like Sigrid, which I like with Sigrid, that they do her in dramatic pauses, and she's a very more and more dynamic, because you can see her springing around on the battlefield, and she's shouting and screaming, and you boys better watch it or I'll make sausage out of you, or something like that, or you're in the stew for the zombies next week, or something like that. No, but Aaron Joe, he just strides in there. He just stands there. And if anyone questions the orders of the Spetsnaz, they look back at him and they say, oh yeah, sorry, didn't think that thought, I'm going that way. Yeah, I'm totally with you. So basically...
And that's probably also why he actually carries his gun.
Yeah.
It's not for killing enemies.
No.
It's for something else.
Yeah. And it's just
purely motivational.
Yeah. And also because it looks good hanging there.
Yeah.
Then he will have failed, or something has failed when he has to bring it out.
Yeah.
To me. Also, of course, it's always be that, that little rub about the... Iron Joe is made from the sculpts of a guy that was very important, if I understand it correctly, in America, and did a lot for the game, and who tragically died too soon. So that perhaps rubs in on me as well. Because, but Iron Joe, it's no. I'm sorry, Fumiko. She doesn't look bad, but there's something. He's standing perfectly still, but still vibrates of action, adrenaline, everything. So sorry.
Yeah,
Iron Joe is better.
Both the Desert Fox and Iron Joe, when you look at over the table and see that model, you can see that it's an important model.
Yeah.
Both of them kind of have that aura of importance around them.
That is true. They do stand out on the battlefield in that way. I absolutely agree. So, of these three very different generals, which do we think have the upper hand? So, if you just compare, if you were able to take this in any army, regardless of factions or books or anything.
We're talking points for points here. Like which one is... which one brings you the most value in your army? Yeah,
and it's very, very difficult because they have so different types of just roles in the army. I mean, it depends completely on what you want to do. So it's for me, it's really tough to just pick a favorite in a way.
Well, for me, like I said before, the most difficult part is to really estimate how valuable is the tactician skill, because 15 points is a lot for only one hero. The 15-point mark usually goes to, we talked about what's the Steel Guard hero?
Wailo and those kind of stuff.
The one in
the Chinese.
He's like 17
Master
points, and he's a
Yeah.
Steel Guard with all that comes with that. This is just a soldier one,
Yeah, no defensive skills in any way.
Nothing like that. So, but still 15 points, which is a lot. So, but I have difficulties estimating how good is the tactician skill. So it's super difficult to answer. For me, when it comes down to the other two, they are more similar. And also more similar points-wise. It really depends on... I mean, Iron Joe is... Since he's Spetsnaz faction, you usually only and his skill,
That's
the thing
kind
that's
of
special about him only works on other Spetsnaz units, so he's more narrow in that respect. But if you want to play a Spetsnaz army, he's of course good. If you want to play block or Endak, then it's block, Axis or Endak. Then Desert Fox is obviously a good choice for many reasons. In these cases, I would probably say that Iron Joe is the better one, because it's always good to succeed with those get moving rolls.
Yeah.
That's basically why you bring him. The Desert Fox, sure, he gives you this extra, but a lot of cases you don't need that at double. You want to move and shoot or something like that.
Mm.
So his special skill isn't really that. It's more situational. It can be very good, but many times you won't need it. That's how I feel. So I'm giving, and also of course because Iron Joe is 2 points cheaper, so points for points, I would give this to Iron Joe, with a big question mark on Fumiko, because I can't really judge at this point how good she is.
Yeah, I can see that, and for me, I kind of agree about the assessment between the Desert Fox and Iron Joe, but what kind of brings Iron Joe down, if we look at just this hypothetical scenario that we have, that we can use these heroes in any army that we want to, then Iron Joe is just too narrow for that scenario. And I know this isn't really comparing like apples to apples in any way. I mean, this is completely hypothetical. So if you are using a Spetsnaz based army, then yeah, of course that get moving skill is amazing. But if not, then it's absolutely useless. So in that case, I would actually probably give Fumiko the upper hand, because that tactician is something that will get into play all the time until she goes down. Then you don't get it the turn after, of course. And like you said, you have a hard time kind of judging the value of it. And I think that is true also for your opponent. They have a hard time kind of figuring out what is the value of this skill. Should I go to try to take out her or something else? And at the same time, she has that rocket launcher that can put some hurt on people. So just for that versatility, I think I'm going to give it to Fumiko, actually. Mm.
Well, yeah, to me it's quite simple. The Iron Joe is just a better one, because if you bring him because you need him and you want him to do what he does, and then he's just surpass everyone. There will be interesting to reevaluate this, of course, when we play more with the tactician. But I still see I still can't see that it can be almost the double what you get out of it when you compare it to Fumiko there. So
8 to 15 points is a big difference. It's almost double in this case. So is it? Of course, she has better weaponry and stuff,
but that makes it also harder for me to compare them, because since you only bring Iron Joe when you want to do the Iron Joe thing, otherwise you wouldn't bring him. Mm-hmm. So. It would be easier for me to try to compare like the Desert Fox versus the Fumiko, and that gets harder since the Desert Fox can be with anyone and reactivate anyone or sort of and get them So I would probably go with the Desert Fox before Fumiko, but that is Well, I have to wait and see, as you said, Magnus. We have to wait and see. But Iron Joe is just.
We'll do this comparison in a year or so and see what happens.
When hopefully also we'll have an allied general to compare with. That's something I'm looking forward to. Yeah. And I sincerely hope they don't make Bazooka Joe a general. I hope they produce something new, something interesting. McCarthy or something like that. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Right, so to kind of round off this episode, let's go over to some tournament talk. because we do have a very interesting tournament coming up locally here in Gothenburg quite soon, actually. May 2nd and 3rd. We are going to host, or I and Mats are the kind of driving force for this. Dust Nordic again. Yeah, this has been a huge success previous years. And this time we're still doing it in the Falcon Community Center, but we've been a few years now. But we've kind of been upgraded. We're in the large kind of venue in that building. So we're going to have a lot of room for people. We still have some details left to kind of iron out, but we're talking about maybe having kind of movie night for our guests and stuff like that. So if you have just any questions about the tournament, go to dustnordic.com, check out the details, and get in touch if you're interested, because there's still some places left. I mean, there's a few months before the tournament, and this quite a long time now to get registered and get going. So I think at least I'm not sure. Have you been thinking about your army for the tournament? Because I know Ludde has.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure because time is always flying by, and I want to concentrate to hopefully get some new terrain done before that. So that is kind of my priority. So it really depends on if I have the time and energy to do something new. Otherwise, I will stick to something older that I don't have to put a lot of work into. But I'm not sure. I have been playing Allies Ranger 2 lists for quite some time, so I'm thinking of maybe not doing that. But I'm not sure what I'm gonna go with. I mean, Ludde have been talking a lot about Blutkreuz for a while, and that, Blutkreuz has kind of sprung up in my mind again. It's been a while since I played them now, so I don't know.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, even though I think you should go with the Blutkreuz, because even though I've been hammering on my army, and I will produce that and play with that in a tournament sometime soon, I'm thinking more and more that this Nordic event will be dedicated to another of my favorite loved ones, which I will play there most likely. And just as you, I'm always tempted to play the Allied 2s as well. But even though also that I've now seen all the new possibilities, I think it has been a little bit too much Allied 2s for me for a while. So it most likely won't be Allied 2s. Now I have a big problem, not a big problem, but a big possibility, because I'm most likely this year again I will play with my daughter, because she has demanded, most to my surprise, that she be with on this tournament as well. She enjoyed it so much last year, so she's actually, well, you got the opportunity to go and stay with your mother and eat a lot of candy, or you can come with daddy and play Dust. And she was like, I'm gonna play the tournament. So
very cool.
So my observation is, although is that from what I've heard, when Mats is talking a little bit about it, it seems like there's going to be a few even more interesting battle tables this year. So,
the kind of the terrain and the boards, that's something that we really try to put a lot of effort into, and that's you two guys are actually a big part of that, have been in previous years, because you have a lot of very nice terrain that you kindly lent out to the tournament. And for those who don't know, usually the way we do our tables is that each table has a unique terrain setup. So no one table is even similar to another. So you can't really prepare in the same way as you might do for other tournaments, where you have a fixed terrain set for all the tables. You do have fixed scenarios, but the terrain can vary quite a lot. And that's kind of one of the things that we do, that we want to make each individual match feel unique.
Yeah, and now that Mats has started producing a lot of stuff in his his workshop there with the printing possibilities, and also with the new
with the laser cutting and MDF terrain and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the fact that you're now working with the gaming company there, so I expect to see some stuff that we haven't seen before. I expect that the bar will be lifted from previous tournaments, just to the fact that he is been very engaging in his workshop there.
Yeah.
Also, another observation is that it seems to be more people from abroad, so it's going to be
that's really fun, actually.
More of a European tournament now.
Yeah.
So I hope that can inspire some other people out there who perhaps can't go abroad, come to Gothenburg at least if you're Swedish, because then you're going to meet a lot of interesting players, really good guys coming, and also for those outside of Sweden, you're not going to be alone. You're not going to be the only one who don't understand our rules and our strange buildings and stuff like that. You're going to be a group of, so you can go after the judges if something is strange or something is so.
And it's a great opportunity to, well, if you're interested in that, maybe meet and chat and maybe play against some of us also.
Oh yeah. So, well, if you want an easy win, we will be there. We promise. We will do our best to make you enjoy the tournament. And thinking of my suspected workload that before and after that weekend, if I'm not a zombie playing, it would be a miracle.
Yeah.
That's why I'm bringing my daughter actually, so someone knows what we're playing, what's the rules of the game and stuff like that. So
someone can find the way home.
Yeah, exactly.
No, well, I already procured 2 drivers for that weekend. I'm not going alone. You can't let me out on the streets.
And from what I've heard from last year's Dust Nordic, are you going to let your daughter roll all the dice this year?
Well, yeah, only when we need to hit. Then I give her the dice, she kills the things, and then when she killed too much of the opponent's army, I'll ask her to step back and let me roll some dice, and then the opponent usually is okay with it after the game. So that's just a thing.
Yeah, that's good to know. So if you want to know more about the tournament, check out pictures of the previous years and see what the heck we're up to here in Sweden. Or if you want to register, find out some more, go to dustnordic.com and you can find all the information there. So I think that's actually it for this episode. So it's been a long, hard trip to get here, but we're finally at the end.
But we'll be back.
Yes, we will be back because we still have our questions to go through. But as we kind of instituted last time, that will be a separate episode from this one. So until we hear from you again, or you hear from us more likely maybe, I want to thank everyone out there for sticking with us, and big thank you from me, Johannes.
And from Magnus.
And from Lotta.
And as usual, we will see you on the battlefield. Thank you for listening to Dust War Journals. You can find us at dustwarjournals.com or on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dust War Journals. And you can find our Patreon page at patreon.com/dustwarjournals. All music used in this podcast is made by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com.